Hi, I'm Stuart Clark, the Managing Director of Russell & Russell.
And I'm Yvonne Webb of Action Coach Business Coaching. And together we are your co-hosts and sponsors of Glasgow Business Stories. We hope you're loving Glasgow Business Stories. So if you are, please do us a favour and subscribe. New episodes drop every 2 weeks, and we want you to hear all the wonderful stories from the businesses here in Glasgow. So please subscribe now. Hi Alan, thanks for joining us today on Glasgow Business Stories. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
So let's just start by telling folks who you are and what you do.
So I'll go you that the personal side as well, because I think we'll go down that today. So my name's Alan MacGregor. I'm 37 years old from Uddingston, and the business is Silver Birch Interiors. So we are a kitchen specialist who supply, design and install kitchens all across Scotland.
Okay, and tell us, go as far back as you want, but how did you get started in that? How did you get into it?
I started the business off the back of having a business with one of my best mates from school. So I was a joiner at trade. I fell into kitchens around about 2008 after the recession and the crash. And I've been doing kitchens ever since.
And was that a choice? Did you want to do kitchens?
It was probably the only thing in joinery that I didn't know what to do. And I used to always say I'd love to be able to do kitchens, but I was mainly new build. So it was mainly new build, refurbishments, kits, roughing, all that stuff I'd done before I started fitting kitchens. How it all came about was his uncle was opening up a kitchen showroom. They were looking for a joiner to come in and do doors, walls, partitions. A couple of kitchen fitters never turned up. I started fitting kitchens, and then, I've been here ever since.
Yes. Yeah. So you were in business with your pal for a while, and then you made a decision to go out on your own at some point?
Yeah. So Ross and I had a business for about 2 years. We had different views, different opinions on how the business was going to go forward. I was wanting to take it one path, he was wanting to go another. I was wanting to open up a showroom, he was wanting to get married. And we kind of parted ways, went our own ways, and started Silver Birch January 2014, and I've been here ever since.
And how did it feel, kind of starting off by yourself? Did it feel like a big leap, or because you already had those couple of years?
No, I mean, I started working for myself when I was 18. So when I started my joinery apprenticeship, my boss wasn't the best guy. And my tradesman at the time, both of us were getting fed up. He had the opportunity to get a housing contract for 52 houses. So it was kind of kits, roughing, etc. and bathgate. So we done that and it was great. I absolutely loved it. I just had to go to work with a couple of jumpers and keep the beard and that going, so he didn't realise I was still an apprentice at the time. And we done that for years and we were really, really successful from it. We only worked 4.5 days a week, made some really good money. But 2008, they stopped building houses. So I think a lot of people in that home building, new build sector, they kind of fell more into the kind of residential market at the time.
So you started with your friend. Was it just yourself that you set out by yourself, or was it a team of you at that point?
Silver Birch?
Yeah.
So Silver Birch was just me. So Silver Birch wasn't even Silver Birch at the time. So it started in January 2014 when I went through a business accelerator program called Entrepreneurship Spark. At the time, I decided to take 3 months out. So I had a bit of a bigger idea and decided to take 3 months out to kind of look at, brand, position, market opportunity, where I was going to open. And I think we'd done the first job at the end of March 2014. And that first year, it was just me. So I'd done everything for the house, and it was like me, tool belt, a couple of grand. And I'd done design, sales, orders, deliveries, install, full shooting match. We had a great year that year at East Park. I loved it. It was just great to be surrounded by loads of different entrepreneurs. At that point, that was like the real kind of buzz and hype in the first free accelerator program in Scotland. So there was a real hype round about it in Scotland. Everybody was getting involved in it. Everybody was trying to get in. And that year, we won most accelerated business in the East Park that year. We secured £25,000 worth of loan funding for Prince's Trust, which helped with the showroom, and we also secured the premises for the showroom, which we started the refurbishments the following January. So that first year was just about getting some jobs in, try to build some cash, and getting a facility that we can open.
And what stage did you make the jump to starting to employ people? And
I think the first employee was a guy called Peter Cavan, a great guy. Still speak to him just now. He is living in Dubai at the moment. So I believe we brought Peter on in 2016. So over 2 years I went solo, which was torture. 80, 90, 100 hour weeks back to back.
Was that just because you're at breaking point with the 80, 90 weeks, or is it because you were like, actually, there's a new opportunity that I can
breaking point. And I think with everything, especially in the early days, is you need to scale slow, and you need to do as much as you can because you're bootstrapping it. You don't have the cash at the end of the day, so you can't afford to be bringing in people like that. Also, as well, at that point in time, we're in a showroom which is inside a building, which was Hurry Brothers. So we didn't have any signs on the main road. We didn't have any windows. You had to walk through like Aladdin's car boot sale, through this maze to come up, and then you'd open these glass doors and you would go, wow, right, this is the kitchens in here. So to try and attract talent at that point in time when you're a young boy with a tool belt on, really, really hard. In our game, it's a lot of sales, marketing people. And in that mid-high-end sector of the market, it's a lot of interior designers. They want to be on main streets. They want to work with well-reputable brands. We literally were just a wee guy with a tool belt.
And so your first few hires, were they just other people on the tools as well, or was it some of the other back office stuff that you're talking about?
First hire was a design person that could help me in the office. I'd never even worked in an office before. So that was the first hire. Don't get me wrong, I had a few subcontractors that helped us, with jobs and installations and stuff like that. And often I would still do bits and bobs here and there as well, just if and when required.
Can I just go back to eSpark then? Because it's not everyone's path to go to eSpark at the time. How did you get introduced to that or find out about it?
Oh, that's quite a long story. We'll maybe come to that a bit later. But yeah, so it was someone who told me about eSpark and said that I should apply. It was rough. So it was a 3-stage interview process. The last stage of the interview, I was in the Glasgow hatchery, so there was 3 hatcheries. So there was Edinburgh, Glasgow, Ayrshire. And I think at the time, they took 50 businesses on every 12 months or 18 months, whatever it may be. And on the last stage of the interview, we go in, sit in refrigeration, top floor. It's just this big empty building with like seats sitting there. And Gail basically stands up and just says, guys, I'd like you to look to your left. I would like you to look to your right. There's 150 people here today, only 50 are getting through. So only one of you are going to make it. We're going to ask every one of you to stand up. We're going to call you by name. Every one of you stand up. You have 60 seconds to tell us who you are, what you do, and why you deserve a place here. And once you're finished, there's the door. Leave. And we're all just sitting there like, what the fuck, and some of the businesses were great. My mate Jim, that I'm still friends with, he was building a sports app, so you're like blown away with people. This Karen McKean was like the manager of Snow Patrol. She was doing events for Teen in the Park and stuff like that. And then I'm thinking, I've just got a wee tool belt, what am I doing here? And that's how it came about. So I didn't even think I was going to get in, to be honest. And then when I did get in, it was great. They set that up. The first week was in Glasgow Cali Uni, where they had 150 of us. And it was just kind of intense, who you are, what business is all about, what's the programme's going to be all about. Done Myers-Briggs that we were speaking about earlier. It was great. I absolutely loved it. I recommend anybody to do it as well. Anything that you can do, that you can surround yourself with people like that. It brings you on leaps and bounds, and also makes you feel normal, because all the pains and problems and challenges you've got, other people have got them. Family don't kind of understand those things, do they?
I think that's the thing. Any business, you'll be the same. You speak to, it's like, the number of issues are all the same issues. Just in, like, no matter what industry it is, what size you are, everyone's got the same issues.
Yep.
So where did the name come from then?
So that's a long story as well. So the name, there was 3 things that I wanted. So the 3 things that I wanted was a brand that what you said you've seen. So if you think of apple, it's an apple. Orange, it's an orange. Silver birch, it's a silver tree. It's now silver leaves. The second thing I wanted was something to do with refurbishments, something to do with craftsmanship, and something to do with like uplifting, basically, like, because we refurb people's houses. So back in medieval days, they used to use the silver birch branches as a broom, and they used to sweep out houses, and they used to see it as like purification out with the old and in with the new. And a lot of people would do that if they moved house, and they would think that it would like remove like bad spirits or negative energies. But the third thing, the hardest thing, was the idea of the business is a franchise trade distribution type model. That is why I set it up. I knew it was going to be a long road for a shortcut, so I really wanted a brand that had something that could connect back to that, so that if we could deliver that, it wasn't just a change of route to market. There was a reason and there was a purpose behind it. So Silver Birch is like known like the goddess tree. It's like a spiritual thing where it's got like deep roots. It's like a fascinating root cycle it's got, and it basically fertilises all the soil, and it helps all the other plants and trees grow around about it. So basically, if we were able to deliver that, and we were able to build that model, anybody that came involved and were part of the brand, we'd be able to give them all the tools, the structure, the systems to help them grow as well. So it was a long road for a shortcut. It took me 3 months to get the name. And in eSpark, everybody's like, Alan, have you still not got that name yet? I'm like, no, working on it. And how it actually came about, we had like a big ideation session. There's like 40, 50 in a room, and I just stood up and told everybody what I wanted, and everybody just started firing out names. And there was maybe like 100 names on the board by the end of the session. And I narrowed it down to 2, Marble Arch and Silver Birch. And then when I started doing all the homework to see if any name would align with the brand, Silver Birch was just perfect. And that's how it all came about. I never actually came up with it myself. There you go, somebody else that came up with it. But Perfect.
Surround yourself with good people, right? It's a interesting story to how you got to the name. I like it. So we're back in 2016. You've started to take people on. What's the next pivotal steps in the business after that point? What happened?
Oh, in the business. So at that point, we were, small mentality, but we were doing some amazing business, and we were taking business off all the big boys in the game. 2016 was probably where we really started to get recognised, and we started to build some serious momentum. First kind of major milestone, we were thinking £1 million turnover. Can we get there, and how do we get there? So 2016 to 2017, we facilitated that, and we done that over maybe 50 odd installations that year. It was full on hard going. At the same token, we are tendering for people like Cala Homes. We are winning Scottish Home Building Improvement, the Kitchen Company of the Year awards and stuff like that. And at that point, another member of staff comes in. So I think there was about 3 of us at that point, kind of full time. We were also doing like showroom refurbishments, going trips to Germany, just market research, just trying to improve. And the beauty of Hurry Brothers was I didn't always have to be there. And the first showroom that I had looked at was Great Western Road, and I had pitched to the panel at Prince's Trust, and they says, Alan, love you, love the business, love the products, love the portfolio, but your overheads are too high. If you can get something cheaper, we'll give you the loan. And I was like, okay. So when I got that, it was great where I didn't jump in too quickly and I had time to learn. I think if we opened up then we would have failed. But the fact that we were able to do something in an area that was isolated, I could lock my office door, I could go and do deliveries, surveys, whatever, and just leave cards and numbers. It was a great stepping stone for us to actually grow the business and grow the team.
And you mentioned Cala there. That's quite a big name. How did you manage to get business with Cala?
This is actually a good story. So we had done at this point, I think I had done maybe 4 or 5 directors of companies that work with Cala, like bifold company doors, scaffolding, etc., etc. And I knew all the directors well because obviously I'd done the job. And I'd been trying to poke Cala off every angle. And they were doing a development in Bothwell. I'm from Uddingston. And I really wanted this site. So I'd been pestering quite a good few people about it. And I was out with my big mate, Big Gordon. It was like a Thursday night. Went for dinner, a few bottles of wine in, and I can remember sitting on my couch, and I've done a job for John Horn. His house is in Marhall, it's cracking, right? Still one of my favourite jobs, great guy as well. And I've put this video on LinkedIn, it's kind of went like viral, it's got 100,000 views in absolute no time. Stuart Dallas, who was a project manager at Cala, went and wrote, if it's a Silver Birch kitchen, it'll be truly amazing. And I can just remember sitting on the couch half canned, writing back, laughing to myself, can't even remember what I wrote. So goes into work the next day, I've got a kitchen presentation and I'm presenting to this girl, can't remember her name. Anyway, she's brought her granddaughter there who has done the toilet, right? So she's in the middle of a nappy change on the breakfast bar in the showroom. My phone starts going, Stuart Dallas. So I hangs up the phone and then just remembers, what did I write in that message last night? Stuart Dallas goes again. Hangs up again. Stuart Dallas again. Third time I've hung up, I'm thinking, oh no, what did I write here?
So you're not thinking this is bad at the time?
So I know it was a cheeky comment, but I had no idea what it was. So then he's phoned again. I've just answered the phone and he's like, hello, I've been trying to phone you all morning. I was like, do you like that wee cheeky comment last night? And he's like, cheeky comment last night? I'm like, aye. He says, do you know what I've come into this morning? I was like, no. She says, Leanna Kavanagh, Sales and Marketing Director at Cala Homes. Do you know Alan MacGregor of Silver Birch Interiors and how? And literally, that was it. I came in, met Leanna, and she basically walked in and says, look, son, I've heard loads of great things about you in the business. I've got this niche site. We've got an extra bit of cash to spend on it. Do you fancy when I go to the kitchens on it? And that's how it all came about. After years of trying to actually get in there, it was a drunken message on LinkedIn, a wee dot that was connected. And I think the show home that year won Best Scottish Show Home of the Year or Best Cala Show Home of the Year. That was kind of 2016, 2017. And that's where that kind of Cala journey started at that point. But huge that early on as well. They're not easy to break into organisations like that. Even now with the team we've got, we still struggle to break into some of these bigger organisations. It can take years.
You still work with Cala now? We
still work with Cala at the moment. So we're on, we were just finished Maidenhill, but we're still in Jackton and Hamilton. And they're great sites. Our distribution's for Blantyre. So the boys are like travelling like 5 minutes to work and deliveries are like 10 minutes drive. So great business.
I was going to ask, is social media still a big part of your then marketing? Because obviously it's a very visual.
Yeah, truth be told, we never really marketed. I would say we're like the best, worst business there. Like 70-80% of all the business that we've got, like throughout all the years, it's all word of mouth. It's all recommendations. So we're much more partnership focused than relationship focused. We do that through architects, builders, interior designers. And if you do a good job, people keep recommending you. That's the key for it. It's only probably the last 1.5 to 2 years that we've made a real change in trying to improve that. And we brought a social media marketing turn in who works for us part-time. She's far better with it. I'm like a dinosaur with social media. So she does a lot better at it. And it's more about actually letting people see who the team are and behind the scenes. It's not about me. It's never always has been. So it's trying to make people more confident and comfortable that we're just normal people at the end of the day. And there's a good squad of us now.
She might not have let you put that comment on though if she'd been employed.
She'd have probably encouraged me to do more, Sarah, to be fair.
So you still doing texting at night after a couple of glasses of wine?
Aye, always.
Okay. So anyone out there that wants your business should really just try texting you after 8 o'clock at night or something?
Try and find out when I've been on the beers, yeah.
So business isn't always plain sailing, is it?
No.
Tell us about some times that maybe have been a bit tougher.
Oh, I mean, there's loads. There's loads. I think the easiest one, to not go down too many rabbit holes, and one that I think that would be good for people that can relate to is probably COVID lockdown. I think that was a scary moment. That was a moment where my back was against the wall. Financially, I was not in a good place. We had bought Bothwell Road. It took us 6 months to get the tenants out of the showroom. It's like an old detached sandstone building, a bit like this place, but not quite as spectacular as what's in here. We ripped the full thing right back to the sandstone. So it was an 11-month refurb. Near enough killed me. There was a lot of things going on in the business at the time. And we only had like 6 people. We opened in the October, and November, December, never good months for kitchens. So I left the kind of lights on in the showroom, opened up in January, the hinges are coming off the doors. People have been looking at this place and we're thinking, we've done the right thing, but I'm like well over 6 figures over budget. February started to quiet down, 24th of March, shut your showrooms. You're like, oh, what? And I'll never forget sitting on the stairs. And as I'm sitting on the stairs, I'm looking out on Bothwell Road. Bothwell Road, there's 25,000 cars pass every day, and I'm just sitting looking at my watch. And on 54 minutes before one car passed, and I'm just like, shit, you know, what am I going to do here? And you're not allowed to get into people's houses. So you can't refurb, you can't do anything. That's probably the scariest moment I've had kind of financially, I would say, in business. But come off the back of it, it's the best result that we've ever got. Some of the work I'd done in those 12 weeks when everybody was having barbecues in their back gardens, we transformed the business, actually. And basically developed Silver Birch contracts on the back of that 12-week. But I would say that's the toughest one.
So
one of the toughest that I can share, I would say.
You actually kind of focus on you had time to focus on the strategy rather than being in it.
First time that I actually had an office to myself, you know, for years and years. So peace and quiet. I was turning up in tracksuits and shorts and t-shirt. It was brilliant. At the time, we ended up with 4 big tenders that came in. So we'd already established the Cala relationship, but we didn't really have any sort of scale behind it. At that time, we were probably doing between 50 and 60 installs a year. And in that 12 weeks, I ended up closing 276 kitchens in 12 weeks. So we went from, and the weird thing was, it was a really tough time the year before. And I'm not going to go into that today, but I was in Peru. I was travelling South America with one of my best mates. And at that point in time, I just says, do you know what? Forget the business. I'm not scaling this. I'm going to keep it comfy. We've done everything we need to do. We can keep a nice lifestyle business. We can do 50, 60 installs a year. Live happily ever after. I'm not growing this anymore. Forget about it. And you get through a card, you have no other option, and then you just dial in. So, and Aileen, who's our contracts director now, we'd been communicating for a good few years. It took me 5 years to finally get her on board. And she said, you know, this could take us years to actually build any business. And I was like, I think we might have some work coming. And she's like, how confident? I'm quite confident. And she started I think she started at the start of August within a month, with the 250 kitchens through Cala, Maidenhill and Jackton. And then that's what created the contracts department. And then we started to build a team around that. So
at that point in time, do you not think, how am I going to service this? Or was that never an issue? Were you just excited about the fact of running the business?
There was a bit of there was a bit of uncertainty in how we would service it, but the beauty of these developments is they're that far in front that you've got loads of time to prep. So if you get the nod for it, by the time they break ground, get services, get kits up, it could be a year before you even get a show home to the ground. So actually the man on the ground's quite easy, but making sure you've got the right structure and you've got all the right documents, you've got the right process for these people to follow, just so that operationally in-house it's efficient. That's probably more work setting all that up. And then also just the different communications that go behind all the different people on sites. But the reality of it is, if you do a site, or if we do a site for someone and there's 2 kitchens a month, that could be 2 man days per month. It could be 4 man days a month. So actually on the ground, it's not that hard. It's actually making sure that you get everything clean so that guy has an opportunity to fit it 100% right first time. That's what you need to be doing.
And you're saying earlier, before we came in, that you've been working a lot on the processes and systems. Is that part of that as well?
I mean, that is completely different probably from then. So back then everything would be more ad hoc, paper, photographs, etc. We've always had a clear defined process of what the stages are, who's accountable, who's responsible, what the time frames and parameters would be. Now what we've basically been doing for the last kind of 2 years is everything on a paper process we've been digitising, and we've been trying to automate and just connecting the dots up so as it's completely visible, transparent for everybody, and it's all tracked and recorded with a timestamp. But it's a big job, that.
But did you start out like thinking about those processes because you had that franchise model in mind, or was it all in your head and it was like actually trying to get
to begin with? It was all in my head, and then I think what you realise quite quickly is your brain can't cope. Like, your brain cannot cope. You can't remember everything. So then now it's just, how do you download your brain and where do you download the brain? So I would say probably 2016 was the first time that we actually had like a mapped out process and structure and filing opportunity. And since then I've just been trying to adapt it, tweak it, subtly change it. And there's a couple of different builds that we've done for certain parts of it, but this is the first time we've actually been able to do it from complete front to back. But it's exciting what we're doing now.
It was coming out of COVID. Was that where you really saw the business begin to scale, do you think?
Massively. We came out of off the back of that, the 3 years in front, we kind of averaged 42% growth. The 4 years was 35% growth, which was hard. And it's not just about growing. I think it's easy to kind of grow, and you'll see cycles of businesses when you grow. For me, it's, can you continually keep growing, and how do you build the team and the infrastructure behind you to continue that growth? So growing 35% 1 year, peaking, plateau and coming back down, you're not really necessarily growing. But if you're not able to build the structure and build the team behind you, and I think that's what we've done really well. Before Christmas, we actually had a presentation with the team, and it was basically like our ideas in 2020, 2023, 2025 on how we said the business would go, what the headcount would be and what it would look like. And I think a lot of the team were just like, fair enough, that we're not just winging it. There is a bit of strategy behind it. We understand the people, where the people need to be. But even recently, probably the last 3 years, we've been putting organisational charts up with just like blank names. Like, this is the way the business is going. These are the roles that we're looking for, and this is the gaps that we're going to fill. Again, just so that the team know that these people are going to come. These are the areas that we feel that we're going to need people. And then also, if they know anybody, it's always better working with people that we know they're going to deliver, rather than taking leaps of faith in strangers. We try our best to do it through recommendation.
Gives them a progression plan as well, if it's maybe something that they want to do, or like a roadmap as well.
Yeah, we've got a few in the ranks just now that are definitely coming up, and it's really, really good to see.
How have you found building a team? Because you didn't have any experience with leadership or management.
Yeah,
from what you told me.
The hardest part about business, and the hardest part about every business is the team. It's the people, and we've definitely failed a lot. We've learned a lot, but I think we're fortunate that we've got a pretty solid team from front to back, and head on head, 5 and 10. I would quite happily go against anybody with the team and the people we've got. But I think in the early days it's all about skill, doesn't it? It's try to get people, talent with skill. But I think what I've learned is, as it grows, is it doesn't actually matter how good you are at your job. Who you are as a person is much more important. If they don't fit the mould, the criteria, the values, and they're not a team player, it doesn't matter how good that they are. They actually can cause so much more damage. And I think now I'm probably a lot more of a feeling person, and a lot more. I've always been like that, but I think now we know that we can teach skills, and we know that we've got great skills within the business. So now it's just making sure that you try and get the right balance, and that's really, really hard, because you need really driven people with other people to support them. Great salespeople might not be the best at admin. The best organisers might not be the best customer facing. So we are trying to create like teams within teams. And it's never complete. It will never be finished.
I guess the more system driven you are, the easier that is as well, because there's a process to follow rather than it being on someone's individual skill.
I think the longer you do it, the more similarities you see with people as well. So you're thinking, oh, that guy could feel like Stuart, or that guy might be between Stuart and Yvonne, and you can understand that that type of character and that type of experience might look and feel like somebody like that. So you could maybe identify what their weaknesses would be, how you could support their weaknesses. And I think the key in every business and every person is focus on what you're good at, the things that you're good at, and the things that you enjoy, keep doing that. See the things that you don't like, you don't enjoy, see if you can get somebody else to do that for you, because you'll be so much more productive, you'll be so much happier, and the energy in the atmosphere is going to be great as well.
I think it's you got to improve everything, which actually, if you're good at something, just focus on that.
The only downside to that as a founder is the things that you're good at and you do well, they're the things that hold you. So they're the things that are harder to delegate, and if you can't delegate them, you can't create thinking time. And the bigger it gets, the less day-to-days that you really should be doing, because you should be spending more time with the team, you should be spending more time thinking, and if you're absorbed in the day-to-days and the things that you built the business with, you don't get the time to do that.
Yeah. And you talked about you talked about the sort of interview or the hiring on sort of feeling. How do you bring that into the interview process? Do you have a kind of structure or certain questions that you ask that kind of try and align with the kind of values and culture that you've got?
I think it changes with the role. I think our business is really complicated with the amount of different skill sets and personalities. So I think, I'm not sexist here, right? But I think when it's a guy and it's a fitter's role, I'll probably bring my right-hand man into that. So Gordon and I will probably do a lot more of them. I always feel it's better to do it with two, just like this. You've got constant conversation happening. Whereas on the more kind of designer, admin roles, Aileen's a lot softer. She's done a lot more of those roles. So we'll always try and do it that we've got different personalities that are also doing the interview. Sometimes it's just a gut instinct to some of the questions you ask. Normally we'll always go into it and we've thought it through with a page of 15, 20 questions. The reality of it is we might use half of them and we might ask completely different things, all depending where the conversation's going. I think as an employer, people need to realise as well, is like you meet someone 1, 2, 3 times for an hour and a half and you need to make a decision to bring them into your business. You don't get a bad interview. How many people come in and say, oh, by the way, Yvonne, I'm shit at this. I'm really, really not. Or, by the way, Stuart, I hate doing this. No one tells you that. Everybody tells you exactly what you want to hear. And some people, especially salespeople, they can be good at telling you the wrong things, and it's not until you actually get them in that you understand that there might be a bit of ego there might be a skill gap, and I think the key to that is just understanding as quickly as possible and moving them as quickly as possible. And if you do it the right way, they might come to you and say, by the way, I think I'm the wrong fit here. Great, see you later. It's good giving it a go, but it doesn't always work out.
And how do you stay ahead of the curve on the design front? Because it seems to me that kitchen design seems to move quite quick in terms of newness and what's in vogue.
I honestly don't think you need to stay ahead of the curve. I think trends come and go. I think the key of it is it's a human experience. It's who are you selling to, who are you designing for, and what do they want? Because what you want are two completely different things. What I want is a third completely different thing. So just because there's new trends there doesn't mean everybody wants them or everybody's going to suit them. I think you just need to look at in retail, we need to look at it as an individual basis. It's a one-to-one journey. You need to clearly find out and figure out as much as you can about that person and how you can benefit their life, rather than what you seen in a magazine last week. The context, there's not really that much reality to it. Such a big decision. So it's about how people live, enjoy and use the space more than what you've seen in a magazine 2 weeks ago. And what you also find as well is on the main trends. So for me to look for trends, I'm going to Milan. So I'm going there in April this year. Milan's trends are 2 years ahead of the curve. So in 2 years' time, they might hit London. In 3 years' time, they might hit Glasgow. So actually, the trends that you see, for instance, if you look at somewhere like the Orkney Islands, they're like 10 years behind. By the time they get onto the trend, it's discontinued and it's off the market, because it really just depends on the city and the place that you stay in the world.
I think it comes down, like for kitchens particularly, for me, it's like functionality. It's like you have an amazing looking kitchen, but if it's not functional, it's wasted, isn't it? So it's it
depends on the individual. So for you, it's function, it's practicality, whereas somebody else, it might be purely aesthetic. So the way I describe it is, it's like trying to get the best dream on screen that you can for the best bang for your buck. And ultimately, we will just make suggestions to people and we'll do similar things. It just makes it easy to use. Not that it always fits everybody. And some people come with some wild and wacky ideas. The crazier the idea, even better, because it makes our jobs that wee bit more unique.
Go on, give us one. What's a crazy idea?
But would we design it to do that? Maybe not. Some people's bold colours. I mean, one of the ones that we posted on social media there recently, somebody who went for a green and blue two-tone kitchen, right? And on the social media, we posted something along the lines of, green and blue might split the city, but it's made this kitchen, right? And at the time, I know the guy's a local boy, and I was saying, look, don't do this. I don't think this works. And it's like, she loves it. And in her house, she's got like loads of papers with like flamingos and all these different birds, all multicoloured everywhere. And I was like, honestly, I'm a wee bit concerned about the colour palette here. I'm like, Alan, we love it, we're going for it. And I'm like, do you know what, crack on. And hey, it goes. It's the only green and blue one we've ever done. We'll probably do one again because it looks that great. Yeah. But colour with people is wacky. Seating arrangements can be crazy. And then also some of the things that people see value in where there's no real use for it, but that's just what they like, and you just let them run with it. And then if there's something that's really scary, then we'll say, are you sure about this? And if we do that, people know that we're concerned about it. But we'll always say, anybody who's up for colour, go for it. We've done one of the ones I done when I was younger, which was quite cool. It was like an all-white kitchen. The girl had 3 top left bifold doors, and she had purple doors, red doors, and curry doors, 3 different colours. But she also, in the breakfast bar, had the placemats, and every couple of months she would change the 3 doors, change the glass placemats, and it would just be like a new kitchen. She had 3 sets of kettles and toasters as well. Brilliant. But it's just something different. Everybody's different, aren't they? So it's just trying to find what they want.
I guess that's understanding the customer and understanding what their goals are and what they want out of the kitchen, isn't it? And then deciding around that.
Asking good questions. Everyone is asking good questions, isn't it? And I think if you don't ask the right questions and you make assumptions, you're kind of taking someone down a path that you don't really know the outcome of it.
And how long do you spend in that kind of
design time for us, we see it as a 3-stage journey. If it's an individual client, we would then basically go through a kind of questionnaire and a showroom walkthrough, trying to understand what you like, don't like, whether it be cool colours, warmer colours, mattes, concretes, whatever that may be, applying specification budgets. We'd go upstairs and pick a proposed colour palette, and we try and finalise the spec and the colours right in that first meeting, because when design comes in, it can be quite hard to imagine where everything goes. So that's first stage. We will then design, invite you back in, first presentation. So first presentation, you'll come in, we'll have maybe 8-10 visuals on screen, plan on the table, we'll talk you through it. We'll never get it 100% right first time. We're going to throw loads at you, and hopefully you throw loads at us as well. If we communicate well on those 2 meetings, by the end of that meeting we'll have a good understanding of what it's going to look and feel like. We'll go away, make the changes, do all the costings, you'll come back in. We should be 90-95% the way there, costs on the table. And at that stage, you'll know for the right people, and usually people are pointing us at that stage. For those meetings, on average, are about an hour and a half. So the clients need to invest maybe 4.5 hours. We need to invest probably 20 to 30 hours on an average project before we can actually say, do you want to go ahead?
That's a lot.
So it's a lot. So that's why we don't advertise massively, because we don't want cold leads and we don't want time wasters. We want to be able to spend really good time with the right people that are really interested.
I was going to say, imagine if someone's put 5.5 or 5 hours of their time into it, the conversion rate's probably pretty good, because
we convert well. And there's an argument to say sometimes people can ask for the business earlier than that, and some people go ahead earlier than that. The way that I always like to do it is just make sure that they've had the time and space. It's too big a decision to just walk in and say, Alan, I want that kitchen, take it up the road. The showroom, I say, it's like, that's designed to suit us. So that's designed to show you guys different heights, different webs, different depths, different textures. Your space was designed to suit you. And that's just to get like a flavour of who we are and what we do. That much of what we do, there's just too many variations to go behind it.
I'm interested in learning about how you've grown the business, because clearly you started off as a joiner, gone into business, you've grown it into now a really successful business. You mentioned eSpark being pivotal. What other programmes have you engaged in that have really helped you?
Best one I've done, Scale Up Scotland. She met Tony, obviously. He's been through it as well, but Scale Up for me is the best thing I've done in business. It was great. I don't even know how I get in at the time. Like one of those ones, it's a very challenging thing to get into that core programme. And I'll actually tell you about one of the exercises, and I think everybody should do this. I think this is brilliant. When we got in, we got an email to say, the first module that we're going to do, guys, is an exercise called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So be prepared to speak about yourself for 5 minutes, speak about 4 pivotal moments in life, 3 things that make you come alive, 2 ways to effectively communicate, and 1 thing that no one can guess about you. So 11 strangers, I knew one of the guys, but 11 of us who didn't know each other, didn't know any business, came in, round table with chairs, and basically put it out there. Half of us were emotional out of the 11 guys, like successful guys. And I think I went 3rd or 4th. So I think some of the more confident people went first. And then on the 5th one, we broke for like teas, coffees or whatever. Everybody else is walking about scrubbing out all their notes because we gave so much away. That night at dinner, we felt that we knew each other forever, or for ages, I should say. But great, where it's 18 months, you're investing in you. Every kind of 8 to 10 weeks you go back. It's an all day on the Thursday, an overnight on the Thursday night, half day on the Friday, and then you're up the road. It's in a place called Blair Estate. So you drive to this like mansion, castle on this surrounding of hundreds of thousands of acres of ground, punch the code into the gate's open. Takes like 2.5 minutes to get to the castle by the time you drive through the kind of driveway. And it's just such a, amazing experience to even be there, to be surrounded by that. But the people that Ken brings in is unbelievable. So some of these executives, you could be paying between £5,000 and £50,000 for them to come in and speak to your business for a day. And they would come in and speak to us, give us the presentations away. And for me, I was just trying to say, like, every module, just take 1 thing. If I can take 1 thing for that and put it into practice, great. Within halfway through it, I think I'd burnt myself out because some of these tasks aren't things that you can do. You're not going to do them in an hour or a day or a week. Some of these things can take months and years to put into practice. But the idea for that is they were trying to get businesses from 1 million to 10 million turnover and give them tips, tricks, ideas of how businesses would operate at 20, 30, 40 million. So rather than getting there and breaking, you were actually having time to put that into practice and start to think that way. So that's the core program. Scale Up 2.0. It's like minimum 10 million turnover just to apply. So some of the businesses go through that turnover 80, 100 millions, some serious businesses. But I just think anything you can do to take yourself out your natural environment, anything you can do to take yourself out of the office, and then you can do to surround yourself with like-minded people is the way to do it. One of the funny things about it is no matter how shit your week's been and you go there, somebody's is worse. So you end up just finding humour in how bad the situation somebody else is in, because you all know you're in the trenches, but it's nice that you're all going through the same kind of things and the same kind of understanding. And most of people's problems come from people, right? People are normally the hardest bit about it. So there's loads of learnings, there's loads to be done. And yeah, I would recommend it to anybody.
What's that phrase? Misery loves company. Yeah. I was sitting there on a Thursday night.
Try to speak to your friends and family, like they just don't get it,
Yeah. So what's your ambition? Where are you hoping to take Silver Birch next?
Yeah, so we've got quite a lot. And this year's probably the first year I said that I'm not going to set too many goals. I'm normally really, really goal driven. But this year we've got that much things on the go at the moment. I've decided not to do and say too much. But yeah, I think you will see us maybe coming up in a couple of different places. We're an interiors company, so we might have some different products that are going to be coming. And yeah, long term, the real goal is to try and support craftsmen and kitchen fitters locally, where they can use us for designs, products, system, service, and they can build their own kind of kitchens and life from the house.
There's a long-term plan still to do that franchise model that you kind of talked about.
Yeah, that's the dream. That's why I'm here. So I believe that's why I'm here. I've just not got to yet. I thought it would take me 5 years. I'm 12 years in and I've still not really started it, but it's the closest I've ever been. So.
Any regrets about what you've done when you look back over the years?
Loads. Loads. But at the end of the day, I always say to people, when you're kind of making big decisions, I think it's dead easy for someone to say, why did you do that? In hindsight's a great thing. But I think if you ask yourself the right questions, at that point in time, if you've got your head and your heart in the right place, you've made the best decision you can make at that point in time with information available. And unfortunately, anybody else around about me doesn't have the same information I've got. So 6 months or 6 years down the line, it might be easy to say, oh, why did you do that? At the time, it all made sense. So I think everything happens for a reason. You are where you are, and you win or you learn. So
you learn from it. You can't learn to ride a bike without falling off and skinning your knee. Yeah. It's a bit like, you might make a bad decision, but that might have saved you. Maybe something else comes up that's a much bigger investment. You actually that didn't work that time, I'm not going to do it this time. And it kind of helps you to learn and improve.
What I've learned is the worst things that happen and the worst situations I'm in, I end up coming out better. And at the time, you can't see the wood for the trees. You're thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to get out of this? But for some reason, the deeper I go or the harder the task and challenge is, the better the outcome's going to be. And that's where some of my best ideas come. And I say to my right-hand man, how can I not just figure this out and things are good? He said, Alan, you need to suffer. You need to suffer. I've suffered enough.
You need a bit of pain.
I'm fed up suffering. But that's where some of the best things happen.
So we might have just heard the answer, but our final question to all our guests is, what's your guiding principle in business? Anybody listening out there?
Yeah, guiding principle for me is just simple moral stuff. Like, I just try not to overcomplicate things. The Silver Birch way is we will treat you and your project with the same respect and attention we'll give our own. And at every single stage of the journey, it's like, just don't do it to others like you don't like done to yourself. But all our principles are all our values. We just try and bring everyone back to values and get people to live with them and for them. And it's nothing better to see than people doing that. So it's, we lead, we connect, we deliver, we care. And we see it as a kind of, one happens after the other at the end of the day. Lead by example. If you lead, you will connect. If you connect, you will deliver. And if you deliver, you will care. And that's where we just try and bring everyone back to in business.
Well, brilliant story so far. Well done. I wish you continued success and thanks for joining us today.
No bother at all.